You may have noticed that remigration has become popular among right-wing movements, some even centrist movements of late across Europe. Of course, the mainstream media is implying that anybody who's mooting this is evil, bigoted and a genocidal maniac. But as I've said before on this channel, I'm not quite sure how possible any remigration would be. After all, the first stage of remigration, which has been mooted by Sweden, is to offer migrants a lot of money to go home. But unsurprisingly, apparently these migrants don't want to go home. As it states here, while many migrants may not like Swedes, most have no interest in ever leaving Sweden. Well, no surprise there. We all know, despite the endless battering that European peoples get, that we're hateful and evil and horrible to migrants and being in Europe is a living hell for them. The reality is that despite a few skirmishes here and there, it's not a living hell for them. In fact, they're much better off here than they would be anywhere else. That's why they want to be here. They have a massive welfare state supporting them, they have their own communities, and they don't even have to interact with the locals. In fact, they can actively dislike them and play the victim all the time. So offering them money to go home isn't going to work. They know they're better off here and stand to earn much more money in the long run by staying in Europe. On top of that, they're now buttressed by a woke ideology which tells them that every single thing that's gone wrong for them in history is the fault of Europeans and we deserve everything we're going to get. And if any of us natives pop up and say, well, hang on a minute, that's a bit unfair and a bit of a bastardization of history, we'll be told we're evil and unwelcome in our countries and so on and so on. But as much as our governments try to shut up their own people, the problem is that these people aren't going away. They have a connection to their homelands. They're very worried about what's happening to them and they don't want more mass immigration. So could remigration seriously happen? Well, it seems to me that it's a bit of a race against time. Now, as it's not going to be voluntary remigration, it would have to be forced remigration. And that will never happen if it's just one country alone. The globalist system would simply clamp down on that country and oust any government proposing it. So in essence, for it to actually happen, it would have to be a pan-European decision. Now that would involve quite a major uprising given the whole of Europe is basically under globalist control. And on top of that, many of the powers that be are sensing the dissatisfaction of European peoples and ramping up their efforts even more. Even more mass immigration has to come in. We need even more woke brainwashing, especially of youngsters. And what that means is there will come a time when essentially there's just a critical mass of woke people and brainwashed youngsters and leftists. That will mean there won't be a popular vote for remigration any longer. When you also consider that the globalist liberal agenda controls the Western world, education, media and local government, you realise it really is an uphill battle. That's why it seems more likely to me that in the future we're likely to have balkanisation, differing groups having spheres of influence in different regions of given countries. On top of that, I think we'll start to see these groups start joining internationally. For instance, you might have the Muslim Council of Europe and so on and so on. It seems to me it's either going to be that, remigration, or the liberal utopia turns out to be absolutely perfect and we have no problems. However, I think fewer and fewer people are believing that's ever going to happen now. Now, how you think this will pan out, you'll have to let me know below, but one thing I can say for certain is we really do have to engage in what I've been calling a civilizational rebirth, a re-understanding of who we are as European peoples, what culture we want to live in after years and years of leftist liberal brainwashing which has demoralized and debased us. So what do you think? Do you think remigration could ever seriously happen, or do you think we're on the road to balkanisation? Do let me know your thoughts down below and do consider subscribing to the channel.